Well, hello, my favorite people. Is anybody there? Start commenting if you're watching this live stream. Everybody who is on YouTube or on Facebook, say hello. Let me see where you are typing from. I'm not sure if anybody can see me yet. Let me double check. Well, today we have a little live stream because Mr. Zelensky has birthday. So I guess that would be a good time to say happy birthday, Mr. President, right? Everybody who is watching, type in what countries you're watching from. And what time is it down there? Everybody is trying to join at different times, so we're trying to make it so everyone could participate. I'm trying to see if I can see any comments. No comments yet, guys. Start typing because I'm not sure if you can see me. Yes, we have one comment. Finally, I get it. We got Canada. Perfect. Pam, welcome. Everybody who is watching on YouTube or Facebook, start writing some comments. And by the way, if you are watching on Facebook, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. You see the QR code on your screen, that red QR code, you can scan it with your phone, just point the camera to it and you will be subscribed. Click subscribe and you're done to my YouTube channel. So next time I go live, if you're grocery shopping or at the bar, doesn't matter, you could still join me on the live stream. So subscribe to my YouTube channel, anybody who's watching on Facebook. Anybody who is watching on YouTube, welcome. Anybody who is watching on Facebook, welcome. We have Australia. I love it. Luke, welcome. We have Timothy, New Orleans, 7 p.m. Wonderful. It's 8 p.m. here in Michigan, USA. So anybody joins me, USA, right? We love that. We have Arizona, Beth, wonderful, welcome. We have Kenya, wait a minute. I'm trying to see, Edis, is it Kenya? Oh, let me see, I hope I need my glasses, guys, the way you type with small letters, type caps. Kenya, we got it. I hope I got it right. Edis or Kenyaki. Okay, guys, type the country and the time of day so I could see what's a good time to come on. So a lot of you could be all at the same time. We have June. Hello from Philippines. Hello there. Excellent. We have Martin. We have Martins. Are you serious? Then say something good. By the way, I don't like the Nazi Volodymyr Zelensky. Well, Martin, we are all serious here. That's where we come on. Zelensky has birthday today, and nobody here is his fan, in case you didn't notice. But I do have a lot to talk about, but I first want to say hello to everybody who is watching. So we have the next comment here. We have Jerry Green. Hello there. We are back. Love it. Rob from Australia. We have Francis. Excellent. We have China, 9 a.m. Wow, guys, we have China in the house. Excellent. So everybody tries to type in, if you're on YouTube, make sure you type in the comments too so I know you're here. Well, today, guys, is January 25th, and Zelensky has a birthday today. And of course, I couldn't help but mention what exactly Zelensky is like on his birthday. Here is a little video I would like to share with you. Let me check my screen. Not this one, but this
Верховну Раду 8-го скликання.
This video basically is when Zelensky was elected. Remember how we always hear that it's Russia's fault, it's Russia who started this war, everything is Russia's fault. Well, if you remember the war between Russia and Ukraine, right, when Russian army came in, it was announced that they came in on February 24th of 2022. However, the war in Ukraine was already going on since 2014, when Ukraine had started bombing its own people in eastern Ukraine. And of course, preceded by the coup that was sponsored by the West, the United States and EU, and Victoria Nuland, our own, while Biden was vice president, Obama was president, Victoria Nuland handpicked the coup government of Ukraine. So when Zelensky, in this video, when he was elected, he basically said that the first order of business, this is his inauguration speech, for us will be to stop bombing Donbass. Donbass is that eastern Ukraine region that Ukraine has been bombing since 2014. This video is the year 2019, his inauguration day. So when Zelensky was elected, people voted for him, hoping that he will stop the war that was already there in Ukraine since 2014. But he never did. He only brought a bigger war to Ukraine. So Mr. Zelensky, happy quote unquote birthday. You have failed Ukrainian people. You have not delivered on your promise to stop bombing Donbass, eastern Ukraine, your own citizens. And the bombing continues to this day. But here is our facts, guys. I'm going to play a few more comments here so you know who is watching. And then I'm going to play this video. Zelensky, in his own words, in 2019 promises to stop bombing eastern Ukraine, Donbass region. Listen in. And of course, he also wants to dissolve parliament, he's saying in this speech.
Скликання. Я розпускаю Верховну Раду 8-го скликання. Слава Україні! І наше найперше завдання – припинення
Our primary task
вогню на Донбасі.
is to cease fire in Donbass. Did everybody see that? Did everybody hear the applause in Ukrainian parliament?
Готові до діалогу, але я уверен, что первым шагом для начала этого диалога станет возвращение всех украинских пленных.
And so he says that they need to swap the prisoners first.
Наш наступний виклик – це повернення втрачених територій. Чесно кажучи, мені здається, що це формулювання не зовсім коректне, бо
And of course, he wants to return his territories back as well. But did you guys hear it in his own words? Zelensky basically said the first order of business is to stop shelling Donbass. And he never did. He never did. I thought a lot of people were asking about it. I thought I'll play you this video. We have 12 Bravo, welcome, watching from YouTube. Sounds good, excellent. We have a comment. Zelensky is a poodle for Illuminati, says Martin. Well, we have Dublin, Ireland in the house. I love it. Welcome. Excellent. Zelensky wasn't elected. He was installed like a toilet, says, who is it? Gary Rowan. Okay, Gary, very creative here. Is everybody get the chuckle from Gary's little comment? We have, that's when he thought he might have to deal with President Trump again. Like Weasley bastard, says Squall White. I hope I got it right. Well, guys, we got also Jerry Green saying Montana. So anybody who wants to hear an opinion of Mr. Zelensky by famous guy, remember the guy Aristovich? This guy, remember him? He recently had to resign because he basically came out and said that Ukrainian anti-missile rocket fell on a civilian building and killed civilians. So Of course, Ukrainian, nobody didn't like that in Ukraine when he said that. So he voluntarily resigned from his position. But he continues talking about what's happening on the front lines, what's happening politically in Ukraine. And some people even think that he could be maybe a contender. Maybe he'll form his political party. Of course, Zaluzhny, Ukrainian commander-in-chief, is also sort of quote-unquote contender. And I'll tell you about him later. But this is what Alexei Orestovich, who is actually military academy graduate and he has psychology degrees. Here's what he says about Zelensky, his own assessment of Zelensky's character.
Зеленский человек слабый.
Zelensky is a weak person.
У него есть две клавиши.
He has two buttons.
Мелкое самолюбие и страх.
Shallow self-respect and fear. That's what Alexei's opinion of Zelensky. I watched a lot of videos with Zelensky, and he's definitely not stupid. He's a very shrewd businessman. He has had a very successful career, and he knows a lot of producers. And if you guys don't understand, you think like, well, those Ukrainians, they're over there. No, they're over here. Ukrainian and Russian movie producers, series producers, soap operas producers, they're all very tight with our Hollywood here in the United States. Yeah, Google it up. Their children study in Hollywood. There is famous song composers who wrote for personalities and singers like Barbara Streisand, for Celine Dion. I believe a lot of the award-winning composers who are from yesteryear immigrants from Russia or Ukraine or have connections to Russia and Ukraine, they're very tightly connected to Ukraine and Russia now. And people like Zelensky and his producers of his show, and their children, they're very tight with our Hollywood. So yeah, they're not particularly far away. You think they're far away, but not really. So we have some more comments really quick. And of course, Arestovich has his opinion of Zelensky, but let's see what Ukrainian lady thinks of Zelensky. I think you will appreciate this video, guys. We have Manasseh, Virginia. Welcome, Andre. Here's Ukrainian lady. And you guys can see what she's doing. I'm going to play this from the beginning and translate for you. Of course, a lot of you know I'm fluent in Russian and Ukrainian and a few other things too, other languages. Guys, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Reminder, like, comment, wherever you're at. Are you on Facebook? Are you on YouTube? Like, comment, share, send it to your friends. And our little chat will have more people that we could interact with. That would be grand. So this is Ukrainian lady, and she issues the happy birthday to Zelensky today. And here's what she says. Everybody, greetings from Kharkov region of Ukraine. I would like to congratulate Vladimir Zelensky, Vladimir Alexander, that's his patronymic name, Zelensky, with happy birthday, with his birthday. I prepared a gift for him here. What currency do you prefer, Mr. Zelensky? Maybe this one. She shows Ukrainian, basically coins. Oh no. Oh no. I think you are more used to and more accustomed to receive in this currency, and she grabs dollar bills. So let's count, she says, Ukrainian lady. She says, let's count, Mr. Zelensky. Her happy birthday gift to Zelensky. Make sure that I don't trick you, she says. 1, 2,
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Ровно 30 серебряников, за которые вы...
She said, she counted till 30. She says, exactly 30 pieces of silver
продали нашу страну.
for which you sold our country.
Я сейчас упакую в конверт и отправлю вам по почте.
She says, I will pack this in the envelope and I will send it to you, Mr. Zelensky, via mail right now.
С днем рождения!
And she says, happy birthday to Zelensky. So she basically said that he sold the country for 30 pieces of silver, meaning she counted him $30 and is going to send it in the mail for Zelensky to say happy birthday. And she's Ukrainian lady from Kharkov region. So guys, you see, we got some opinions on Zelensky. Type your opinions. What do you guys think? Anybody wants to say happy birthday to Zelensky? Well, here is my turn to say happy birthday. I like, Jerry says, the reference of Judas betraying Jesus for 30 pieces of silver, says Jerry Green. Yeah, that was Ukrainian lady who decided to make the happy birthday today, January 25th, Zelensky's birthday. So Ukrainians and of course, world leaders alike congratulate him. And that was the video from Ukrainian lady saying happy birthday to Zelensky. Of course, that was sarcasm as far as being a happy birthday. And here is my turn to say happy birthday to Zelensky. I would like to show to Zelensky in case he turns a blind eye and doesn't visit cemeteries, and maybe he only visits the summits and his wife travels to Davos. Maybe on his birthday, he needs to visit a graveyard. Ukrainian graveyards like this, they're everywhere, thousands of them. And I showed you guys in the beginning of this stream, the video, when Zelensky in 2019 promised to stop bombing Eastern Ukraine. Why did Russia come in? Well, because Eastern Ukraine declared independence, asking Russia for military assistance to come save them from Ukrainian bombing. So if Zelensky wouldn't break his promise on the 2019 and stopped bombing Ukraine in the eastern region and started following ceasefire Minsk agreement, we wouldn't be here today. But here we are, and here's Ukrainian cemetery, fresh with graves, guys, fresh with graves. It's insane. Happy birthday, Mr. Zelensky. You betrayed your people, and these graves is a sign that at some point you have to wake up and realize what you did to your country. Ukrainian lady was correct. He sold his country. But I'm sure the price was more than just 30 pieces of silver. One person is saying, Eugenia says, hope Zelensky will be judged soon. Big corrupt guy, like 90% of the government. Yep, there we get it. He can roll the bills for the nose candy. I guess that's a reference to Zelensky. We have Maine, USA. Excellent, guys. Keep typing who is on YouTube, who is on Facebook. I keep talking. You guys keep typing, commenting. If you're watching from Facebook, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. There is a little ticker scrolling across the bottom of the screen that says subscribe to Elena USA Live. That's on YouTube. And of course, there is this QR code. You can also click on that with your camera and you guys will see it. How to get to my channel and subscribe. Here is another video I would like to play for you guys. Of course,
Deutsche Panzer
and the big present for Zelensky made by Germany, right? Germany gave the permission to send Leopard tanks and sending, I think, 14 of them themselves. And of course, Germany tried to sort of hold back and say, but no, but let the United States first send their Abrams tanks. But United States like, oh no, but our Abramses, they're not really made for Ukraine. So there has been a lot of forcing back. And of course, finally, they decided that Germany doesn't mind that Poland will send their tanks, the ones that they have, the German ones. I think Poland has the older version. And now Germany is going to send the newer version. I think Leopard 2A6 or something. I think the newest model is 2A7. But Germany is going to send one step down, 2A4, I believe. 14 tanks. And I think Biden signed something today that they are going to send 31 Abrams tanks from America over to Ukraine. So here is the one. We have hello from Canada here. Stephanie LaBelle, welcome. In case I did not miss anybody, let's see real quick, couple of comments. Make sure I'm from Quebec, the only French community in Canada. Welcome, Mario, welcome. We have Mehdi talking about BRICS. The BRICS topples the UN, which I think is the BRICS was formed before the SMO began. SMO is a special military operation, I believe. That's what you mean, right, Russia? You need at least 6 months of training on those tanks, says Stephanie about the Leopard tanks. Yes, it looks like Germany is going to train Ukrainian soldiers, and I'm sure they probably will have to send their own instructors there too. We have the comment from Mehdi also about tanks. Let me play this video first. But if you guys thought that everybody in Germany was thrilled about sending the tanks, that's not true. There is an opposition party inside Germany, and the member of parliament actually spoke openly against sending the tanks. And here's his reasoning, guys. Let us watch this video and listen and read the subtitles together in German. Let us see. This is German parliament member, and he speaks out. I think his name is what? Let me see. I just had it. I am not going to want to butcher his name. I kind of know it, but I don't want to butcher it. Let's listen in what he said.
Schon ein interessanter Ansatz, den Sie hier fahren.
This is interesting approach that we have. German tanks against Russia in Ukraine, he said.
Deutsche Panzer
Yes, Piotr Bistron, that's his name, Piotr Bistron.
gegen Russland in der Ukraine. Das haben schon Ihre Großväter versucht. Übrigens.
Your grandfathers already tried that, by the way, back then with the...
Damals auch schon mit den Melniks und Banderas. Und
with the Melniks and Banderas, and what is the result? Remember, Bandera is the Stepan Bandera Nazi collaborator, Ukrainian nationalist. That's who he mentions in his speech.
Was ist das Ergebnis? Unsägliches Leid, zig Millionen Tote auf beiden Seiten und am Ende russische.
He says there were millions and suffering on both sides. That was a result of trying to have tanks in the war, have them in Russia and Ukraine before.
Panzer hier in Berlin und zwei.
And in the end, Russian tanks here in Berlin.
Zwei davon stehen hier vorne und Sie sollten jeden Morgen daran vorbei.
And he says 2 of them are standing here in front. He probably refers to the monument from World War II, when Russian tanks are probably made into monuments and standing outside the building of the parliament where he's having this meeting with the other guys of the German parliament.
Vorbeigehen und sich daran erinnern.
And he's saying that you have those tanks standing there just so you could walk past it every morning and remember it.
Liebe Kollegen von der Union, Sie sollten nicht der NATO verpflichtet sein, nicht der US.
And he says, dear colleagues we shouldn't depend on NATO and neither on US Embassy and not on American arms companies.
Und auch nicht den amerikanischen Rüstungskonzernen. Sie sollten den deutschen Bürgern verpflichtet sein. Und die deutschen
He says the German citizens do not want this war.
Bürger wollen diesen Krieg nicht. Die deutschen Bürger wollen
German citizens do not want this escalation. And
diese Eskalation nicht. Und die deutschen Bürger wollen diese Waffenlieferungen nicht. Und deswegen
And the German citizens do not want these armed deliveries. And that's why we do not agree to this motion.
Deswegen stimmen wir diesem Antrag nicht zu. Dankeschön.
Thank you, he said. Yeah, one sane voice there in German, what is it, Bundestag? They basically tried to sort of stop the escalation because whether we like it or not, Russia considers German Leopards and of course Abramses from the United States is a major escalation. That's what Russia said. They said, if you guys do it, yeah, this is pretty major to us. And of course, Germany still under some pressure or under some, I don't know, persuasion from United States, but they're definitely supplying those Leopard tanks. Okay, here's some comments. I hope Germany can get all of those Muslim country refugees. What is it about? Tom Casey, I cannot see. In the countries, handouts and draft in the army for the ground war to protect their newfound country. In other words, Tom Casey wants to have refugees drafted so they could go and protect the countries of Europe. We have Great Demon. We have somebody saying stations will happen in Germany. German tanks in Ukraine again. Someone remembers how that ended. Peace. Yeah, that's what the shocker is. Thank you for commenting. We have Luisin Haramos watching us on YouTube commenting that German tanks, remember what was the last time how the German tanks in Russia-Ukraine area ended up. Well, Russia did say we will burn them all. I am just shocked that Germany continues to put itself in such a position that I am afraid that it may just end up in ruins by the end of all of this if it keeps basically escalating with Russia. It's of course, Russia understands that Germany works under pressure, but there's got to be a limit to how far German politicians are willing to go in call for another direct confrontation with Russia. By the way, that brings me to this article right here that I want to show you guys. Let me see if I can share my screen with you. I have some Chrome tabs here. Let me see. Germany approves. Yeah, this is the article about Germany approves the Leopard tank deliveries to Ukraine. Numbers, suppliers, timeframes explained. You could see that. Size of Lumin Leopard 2 force revealed. What did Germany pledge to deliver? Comprising of 14 Leopard tanks. What other countries will send Leopard 2 tanks? And we can see that, of course, Poland is going to send them. Spain is willing to send them. Oh boy. By the way, I also read an article that Switzerland the other day basically voted to stop. I think they had an amendment which would disallow Switzerland to have this permission for other countries to supply a Swiss-made, I don't know, weapons, anything to do with military. Well, guess what? Even Swiss sort of renounced their neutrality, and they have basically said that they will make an exception. And they will allow for whatever military technology, weapons, whatever they make, to be sent to Ukraine. Switzerland, imagine that. Yeah, the world is basically positioning itself into, painting itself into the corner. I don't know, you guys, if you live in Germany, if you live in Poland, be very careful. I would almost say, make sure you have either a bunker or you take a long vacation somewhere. This is not going to end well. I have some comments I'm going to play here. Anybody who wants to, Ines said 100%. Yeah, Germany are occupied people, says Gary Rohn. Yeah, that's what that parliament member said. He said we're basically dependent on the United States. And he said if we continue to do that, that's major escalation. And our people don't want major escalation, people of Germany, he meant. Yeah, these crazy military adventurists pounding the war drums. Yes, they surely are pounding the war drums. Here's some more comments. Steve says, those tanks will burn like the others. I think Germany hasn't learned the lessons from the Second World War. Yeah, I almost think, guys, this sounds like a repeat of the Second World War. And maybe it's the divine way for us to see if we learned those lessons when millions of people died. I believe Soviet Union alone lost only official numbers, 27 million people. And unofficially, they lost about 47 million people. Imagine that. So, and of course, we had Americans who fought, and we have Brits who fought, and other countries who fought, and partisans who fought against the Hitler troops. So the world had suffered millions of people dead in World War II, and it almost looks like, correctly said by Steve, stepping on the same rake, or just never learns any lessons. I mean, are we that silly? Are we that oblivious to the disaster that we can cause? We have Mehdi saying about the tanks, nice comment, I like that. We have a comment from David. He says in Russian, all wars are wars of the bankers, says David. Welcome, David. You're watching from YouTube. I'm glad to see that. We have Stephanie. Stephanie says, I hope Trump will negotiate peace soon. I don't know, Stephanie. Obviously, when Trump was president, this didn't escalate that badly, but with Biden, it definitely is totally insanely out of hand. I have another video to show you. Just quickly, we'll post some of your comments real quick so you can guys all see who is commenting. And I will play you another video talking about escalation. Carl Lazar says, nothing new. Germany changed their constitution to attack Yugoslavia in 1990s. We have William Huestra. Are Ukrainians conscious NATO is destroying both their country and their population? I believe, William, it's a great question. I believe they're not. I believe they're absolutely not. Remember that video that I played where Lindsey Graham, our Republican senator, stands next to Chris Murphy, the Democratic senator, and they both standing side by side, very tightly, like this, like they're like, you know, shoulder to shoulder. And Lindsey Graham says, as soon as we provide economic help to Ukraine and weapons, they will fight to the last person. And he prefaced it with saying, I like the structural path we're on. So our American senators understand that they put Ukraine up for death to the last person. But I'm afraid, William, that Ukrainian people are told by their media that they're dying for some type of freedom and for their land. Unfortunately, Ukraine has been governed by foreign countries and corrupt politicians on the Ukrainian side and EU side and American side, a la Biden and his son, Hunter Biden. We know their dealings over there in Ukraine. So it's just tragedy for Ukrainian people that they are sold lies, just like we here in America sold lies, that there is some type of freedom that Ukrainians are dying. They're not dying for freedom. They're dying for their corrupt politicians and our corrupt politicians who are getting in front of camera like Lindsey Graham and Chris Murphy and say with no shame that America, they like the path that we're on, United States, that Ukraine will fight to the last person. That means children, elderly, everyone. So I feel for Ukrainians if they're in the dark like that. Few more comments, guys, and I'll play you another video real quick. And if you are watching on Facebook, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can go to YouTube and Google Elena USA Live right into the YouTube search window, and then sign up or click on that QR code. And make sure you send the links to our lives to your friends so we can have more people, more fun, more comments, more questions for the next lives too. And when you subscribe to YouTube, be sure to click the bell and click all for notifications. So when I go live, you guys can join me no matter where you're at, so you'll get notified. Well, here's, guys, about escalation. It's another interesting escalation in the world happened the other day. Of course, that all sort of coincided with the tanks. Have you ever heard about the doomsday clock? I will play you this video because I cannot talk over the video. And you will realize that there is this organization in Chicago where I live nearby, within about an hour and a half from Chicago in the United States. There is a non-governmental organization that continues the countdown to basically the doomsday. And they are sort of gauging the danger of the nuclear possible doomsday exchange, whatever you call it. And they have set the clock just the other day closer. And now it reads, I believe, 90 seconds to midnight, means basically they moved it much closer to the potential doomsday. So let me play you this little video.
What does that really mean? And where did the concept of the doomsday clock even come from? The doomsday clock is a symbolic timepiece showing how close the world is to ending. Midnight marks the theoretical point of annihilation. Every year, scientists move the hands of the clock closer to or further away from midnight, based on their reading of existential threats at that time. Cambridge University's expert on existential threat, Paul Ingram, explains.
It emerged at the beginning of the Cold War to give a sense of the urgency to achieve nuclear disarmament and to climb out of the abyss that we were facing in the early 1950s. And in more recent times, it has taken on climate change and emerging disruptive technology to give.
Of course, they have to mention climate change, right?
We face as a planet, largely through our own deliberate activities.
Albert Einstein was among a group of atomic scientists who created the clock back in 1947. These days, a Chicago-based NGO called the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists updates the time annually. A board of scientists and other experts in nuclear technology and climate science, including 13 Nobel laureates, discuss world events and determine where to place the hands of the clock each year. At 90 seconds to midnight, the doomsday clock is now the closest it has ever been to midnight.
Did you guys hear that? 90 seconds to doomsday. Well, anybody wants to comment on that? Is everybody have their bunkers ready? Because I think Joe Biden is just really, he really wants us to go there. What do you guys think? Every day there is a new escalation, and even the doomsday clock, scientists are predicting that this is getting a little bit too close to midnight. We have some doomsday clock. Here is the comment. I may have to do glasses for that, right? Let's try that. Doomsday Clock, Iron Maiden, 2 minutes till midnight is about the Doomsday Clock. Back in the 80s, we were all told the Russians could nuke us at any moment. We did nuke drills in school. Yeah. Do you guys know? I grew up when I was a child. At the time, there was Soviet Union. Of course, the territory of Ukraine, and I also lived in Russia. I lived all over the world, so don't be surprised, right? But yes, during Soviet era, they had drills in school, in my school as well. Here in United States, I hear that you guys had drills, but over there in the Soviet Union, we had drills too. When I went to school, we had what we call a military exercise, where we had to know how to protect ourselves from chemical weapons, how to put gas masks on, how to take apart the machine gun in, like, what is it, under 1 minute or whatnot. Then we had different drills, what to do, and sirens. Of course, we had entire subject at school, especially in high school, which was called military training. So we had girls and boys, everybody had to take the military training pretty much throughout our schooling back then. And looks like we're getting back to the Cold War, Cuban Missile Crisis, you name it. We have William. Let's see what William says. Let me grab my glasses again. The only way for both Ukraine, NATO, and Russia to back out of this would be for the USA to replace Zelensky by another puppet who actually refuses NATO interference. That way, NATO doesn't want our help anymore. Let's go home. Well, a good point, William. Did you guys know I was going to come back to Zaluzhny, that Ukrainian commander-in-chief? There was the information today that supposedly, I think either New York Times, I don't know if you guys seen the article. I didn't, I only heard about it. Supposedly New York Times, or one of our prominent newspapers in the United States, wrote that General Zaluzhny actually received an inheritance from some Ukrainian in the United States. I believe they said $1 million. And supposedly General Zaluzhny, Ukrainian's commander-in-chief of armed forces of Ukraine, donated all that inheritance to the armed forces. Well, the article would be interesting, that people think that very often, or almost too often, Zaluzhny's name graces the covers of magazines in the United States. So going back to what William said, some people feel like maybe the West is preparing Zaluzhny as sort of like a backup plan when they are ready to discontinue Zelensky's brand. Or who knows, maybe Alexei Arestovich would be the one who will step forward. Who knows? Beth says, I hope Biden gets locked out of the bunker. Well, he's definitely have one. I'm sure he's got one. Our taxpayer dollars, Beth, paid for his bunker. My school was the local atomic shelter. Yeah, good question, guys. Did you know that Europe now, I believe Germany now, they took the inventory to see where their bomb shelters are, and they're trying to actually revamp their, World War, I don't know, II, after World War II, Cold Era bunker type bomb shelters that are throughout the city. Do you guys know where there is bomb shelter in your city? I don't. I tried to Google it once if we have one nearby. I don't know. There was one that came as a search that it was like either near post office or at the post office, but there are no signs. There is no information. So I don't know of any bomb shelters per se that would be open to the public. So if you guys know, maybe it's a good time to start researching on that, because Biden really is leading us to some type of a disaster. Our doomsday clock was set forward. Hey, we might as well try to prepare. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what he's thinking. Jerry Green says, at this going on in the mainstream media, has so many people squabbling over classified documents. Yeah, very true. Very true. Classified documents are a problem, but gosh, you know, what about nuclear war with Russia? Is that not a problem? Media just ignores that particular subject. William Kexter says, it doesn't make sense, nuclear war. USA making money off this war. There is no making money in nuclear war. Well, good point, William, but the problem is it's not going to be the United States choice regarding nuclear war. But what we have right now is a very dangerous situation that any mistake or anybody out there with ill intentions could potentially spark the nuclear war, and it could get out of hand before United States or even Russia will realize who possibly did it. Remember about some months ago, when this, I believe, 2 rockets fell on Polish land, Zelensky started to say, oh yeah, those are Russian rockets, let's attack Russia. The whole Baltic countries, oh yeah, let's attack Russia. Then Poland, let's attack Russia. Everybody was ready to attack Russia and go for Article 5 of NATO. And then finds out those rockets were not Russian. Imagine. And of course, Biden was like, well, I'm not really convinced that they were Russian, but let's just think about it. Well, I think the only plus of the situation was that one Polish farmer took a photograph of the remains of the rocket. And that's how it was proven that it was not a Russian rocket. What if that guy wouldn't take a photograph of those remains? What would we have now? And Zelensky already talked many times for the preemptive strikes on Russia. I watch Ukrainian media and I watch Russian media and, of course, our media. While Ukrainians are already saying that they're going to send rockets on Moscow. Moscow is putting the air defense missile systems all over the city. Yeah, and we know that Biden changed our nuclear doctrine to say that if we even have a cyber attack in the United States, that we can strike first, meaning nuclear strike. And Putin came out recently and said, well, looks like America's nuclear doctrine and the way that they like to escalate this conflict, saying that they could be the strike first. He said, we will not be the first to strike, but we will not be the last. And so then he said, I think we need to revise our nuclear doctrine in Russia, that possibly that we could strike first. I mean, really, I've talked to Scott Ritter, and you can watch interview I did with him on YouTube. He did say that, and he is a former nuclear and all kinds of weapons inspections for UN. He was a chief inspector. He said to me at the interview, he said, Elena, we may not have the conversation we're having now next year, because that's how dangerous the situation is right now with between Russia and NATO and United States. And anything could ignite. There can be a mistake. Something could happen. And one side will interpret it as the other side trying to attack, seconds to make a decision, and we all go into that doomsday clock. So it's definitely a scary time. Got a couple of more comments really quickly. I hope I posted everybody's comment here. So the next video we have, here is the Russian guy who, I think recently Scott Ritter had an interviewed him. I believe he used to live in the United States, and now he went to what used to be former Eastern Ukraine and the area where Ukraine is bombing. And here's what he had to say about potential of the nuclear war.
So the nukes have more than earned their little. Nukes aren't going to be hitting just cities of North America. And when that nuke goes off, there's going to be about a 50 to 80, some will say even 100 plus meter tall wave. So 100 for the standard bound people, that's a wave between 155 to 100 to let's see 80 to about 240 feet. Yeah, all your buildings in New York, most of your smaller buildings will be crushed, and quite a lot of the larger ones may be toppled, with a nice spreading of nuclear material in that wave. But there's going to be a counter wave going in the other direction, So Ireland and the UK and the French coasts, they're all going to get their share of it too. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, it'll hit Iceland. Because, I mean, it is a wave, and it goes in a circle. So it's going to smack everything and everybody around. That's one. And there are going to be more deployed. Then there's Yellowstone. Believe me, Yellowstone's going to get hit. Just take care of everything in between. So the U.S., if it goes stupid like this, is going to get wiped. There ain't going to be much of the U.S. population left. Everything from Washington to New York is going to be just dead. There ain't going to be anything left. There's not going to be this crap that Washington Post put out. Oh, in case of a nuclear war, hunker down and wait 24 hours and then walk out. You're not going to be there to walk out about 24 seconds after this hit. Because it's not going to be one, it's going to be multiple and multiple hits. 20 megaton city busters, 10 megaton warheads. Even the smaller ones, like from the Sarmat, are going to be going Mach 20 when they're coming down. And Mach 10 when they're going get there. Mach 10 is over 10,000 kilometers per hour. Mach 20, hell, they don't even need a nuclear warhead. The kinetic energy alone, when that strikes, it can be like a small nuclear explosion.
Once again, this gentleman, his name is Stanislav. Scott Reeder, if all you know Scott Reeder, recently made an interview with this gentleman, Stanislav. And apparently he used to live in the United States, now moved to what used to be Eastern Ukraine. And he does these little videos, and he talks about nuclear, what could be the potential consequences for United States if this escalates to the nuclear exchange between the United States and Russia, and what weapons Russia has to retaliate.
1 ton object coming down at 20 times, almost 20 times the speed of sound. Yeah, they'll take out giant chunks of the city without any warheads, just as a 1 ton concrete block. Anyways, so the Germans, oh, we want an American nuclear umbrella. You're in that American nuclear umbrella. You're a target. And now you're going to be making sure that you're going to be the real target. And the difference between the U.S. and Germany is Germany's the size of Texas. Except where Texas may wind up getting 2, 3, 4 nuclear hits, Germany's going to get 30, 40, 50 nuclear strikes. There ain't going to be anything left alive in Germany. Everything basically from the Polish-Belarusian border out through most of Northern Europe is going to be a nuclear desert. Carpet bombing, nuclear carpet bombing. You're all going to get exterminated. And those that survive in that little pockets in between are going to wish they had gotten exterminated. That's what you're facing. That's what you're facing right now. I mean, we're there. And the Americans are happy to sacrifice all you morons. So keep sitting on your asses, keep looking at the television set, listening to your dumbass politicians. Most of them have bunkers, at least they think they can get to their bunkers. As they
sounds like he listened to our conversation talking about the bunkers, and this guy says it like it is. He's pretty straightforward, it sounds like. I am watching this video with you guys. I only watched a little bit in the beginning, so we're all learning. Let's listen in some more.
Blattle on, considering quite a few of them are Satanists, out and out Satanists. I mean, hell, they're not hiding most of this anymore. I'm sure they're looking for as many sacrifices, as they can to their master, earn themselves a better place in hell. You don't think they're thinking that? You're a fool. Why do you think they push euthanasia from 12 years on in Canada now? Euthanasia for a Christian is suicide. Suicide for a Christian is damnation. End of story. There is no forgiveness for self-murder. And they know that. And they're bringing in a huge swath of the population and to sacrifice themselves to the devil. And you're all sitting there stupid enough to go, oh, it's okay. It's for your rights. I mean, seriously? God, people, wake the hell up. I mean, you've gone so stupid. Anyone that teaches you that evil doesn't exist is evil. The devil isn't going to come in a red suit with a tail. The devil's going to come as a lawyer. Or a hippie. Or both. He's going to come as one of those politicians you all bow down to. I mean, Christ saying, you do bow down to him. Except for the few people that actually walk out in the demonstrations against and get beaten by the so-called liberal democracies. They're liberal, but there's no damn democracy there. liberal police states. Liberal in this case means liberal morals and nothing else. Other than that, it's a full-on police state. Your owners, because that's what they are. And Davis is just a meeting of your owners. Discuss what to do with the cattle, and you're the cattle. Don't put much stock into you, more than what they need. And when they talk about the golden billion, you know, we need to lower the population to 1 billion. It'll be the golden billion. Yeah, well, let me explain something to you, or half billion. Some are even lower than that. Let me explain something to you. That golden billion ain't gonna be golden. It's gonna be a golden, maybe 1 million at the top, another 30, 40, maybe 100 million at max class, and it's quote middle class, if you can call it that. That's gonna be educated and it's gonna live somewhat better. Your enforcers, for example, your managers, so that the top 1% or 0.5% can live their full lives, their full pleasures. And the rest of you, if you happen to be in that golden billion, are going to be basically serfs, working for survival wages at best. That's what your owners have planned. We said, fuck that plan. We ain't going along. Which is why we have a war on our hands against the entire collective West of Satanism, liberalism, and the serf slaves that you are. Soon enough, your children will be going off to die, because that's the plan in the end. That's one way to really quickly lower your population.
You have to agree with him as far as saying that your children soon will all go to die. Yeah, look at Poland. Look what's going on. Poland's already has their children coming back. A few months ago, there was an article, 1,200 Polish guys returned dead from Ukraine. And of course, Russians are saying on the front lines, they grab this radio communication transmissions and they say they hear lots of Polish language, they hear a lot of German language, they hear lots of English language. So yeah, all of us and all of the countries who are getting engaged in this, and of course Americans are there too. We have Americans who already died in Ukraine. We know that. Some were captured by Russian troops, but some actually died and returned back in the coffins. So let's see what we have for the comments here. Dr. Lopez says, Biden is a nightmare. They underestimate post-bombing radiation that can last for years, and they think they will be safe by the bunker. You're right. It's going to be a winter. What is it? Nuclear winter that's going to last for. It was a pretty interesting documentary. I think it will last for 30 years, 80 years. I would have to double check, but yeah, it's not going to be. It's going to be nuclear winter if God forbid this happens. Patriotic Chris says, Elena Olki, I feel that with the US and NATO sending money, tanks and armored vehicles, plus having 100,000 US troops in Europe, is moving the clock even more closer to midnight after today's announcement by White House. Also, Russian ship in the Atlantic Ocean after so many years, does it make more likely? I fear tonight for all of mankind. Yeah, very true, Patriotic Chris. Scott Reeder keeps saying, and he knows what he's talking about regarding the weapons and nuclear exchanges. He says in a few of his interviews, he said, we may not wake up tomorrow. And it's not to scare anybody. Hey, we don't need fear mongering. But the truth of the matter is we live in dangerous time. And I quote Scott Reeder, he said it. And of course, we know our politicians are pretty much insane. They would be totally oblivious to the fact that all of us are going to die, because obviously they act like they don't care if all of us are going to die. Kwan Su says, when the Russians see German tanks in Ukraine, it will bring back memories of World War II, where they lost millions of their people to Germany's tyranny. This will spur the Russians into frenzy, and the fighting will be so intense and murderous. Olaf Scholz had completely lost his mind and will live to regret this move till his last days, provided, of course, he and his country won't vanish immediate now from Russia's repercussion. Yeah, good point. Good point. By the way, talking about Germany, I'm going to show you this little article here talking about Germany. Remember this lady, Annalena Baerbock, I think her name is. Annalena Baerbock. She says here in her speech, if you can see the screen, guys, you can read it. Annalena Baerbock made the admission in a debate with EU colleagues pushing for the delivery of tanks to Kiev. And she basically said, but the most important and the crucial part is that we do it together, meaning, you know, fight and defend Ukraine. That we do not do the blame game in Europe because we are fighting a war against Russia and not against each other. Can you believe that? So the article goes to say, while Chancellor Olaf Scholz has insisted that Germany ought to support Ukraine but avoid direct confrontation with Russia, his coalition partner Baerbock has taken a more hawkish position. So basically, she, oh my gosh, she basically says that we are at war with Russia. Imagine that. So, and some people think that maybe, just maybe, is the reason that she allows herself to speak so hawkishly is because maybe it's sort of a sign for Scholz saying, hey, Scholz, unless you play ball with us, we have your replacement via Annalena Baerbock here ready on the sidelines. And she goes into the game as soon as you stop playing the game. And of course, Olaf Scholz is not going to want to stop playing the game, right? After all, that's not why he worked so hard to become a chancellor. So we have a comment from Beth here. New York has a laughable protocol. Yeah, did you guys see the New York City? I think it was in July, New York City public administration of the city made a little, I think 90 seconds video to say what to do in case of nuclear war. They basically say, let's say the big one has hit. Don't ask why, don't ask how, just go home and go in the center of your room and watch TV and wait for further instructions from your government officials. Like, what? Scott Ritter kept saying that if this happens, we're all going to get 5,000 degree tan and that will be the end of it. But New York City made a little 90-second video saying how you have to go to the center of the room and watch TV after the nuclear explosion. Can you believe that? I wonder who paid for that. I'm sure New York taxpayers are very happy to do that. Stephanie says, Biden is not in charge. He's controlled from behind by the Whiteheads. I have no idea who the Whiteheads are, but if you know who controls Biden, that's good to know. From what I got from Radio Quebec, says Stephanie. Well, you guys definitely have different news in Quebec than we do. Mary, let's see, Mary, what are you saying? Let me read this. A US NATO have no choice. It's either nuclear war or surrender of the Ukraine to Russia. NATO knows it doesn't have enough men, munitions, equipment, and experience to meet Russian ground forces. William says, a false flag nuclear tactical bomb. I don't think so. The world didn't fall for the false flag Nord Stream sabotage. NATO still has to deal with the silent 80% of the world. I don't know, William, your guess is good as our guess. But we do know that Zelensky was talking about Ukraine acquiring nuclear weapons. And there was Russian top spies saying that right now, Ukraine is actually hiding the HIMARS rockets. Guess where? At the nuclear plants, at the nuclear power plants. So Ukraine is hiding its weapons and HIMARSes, according to Russian top spy. What is it, Naryshkin, his last name? Came out and said, I think yesterday, that they have credible information that Ukraine keeps weapons at the nuclear power plant, including HIMARSes and other weapons from the West. Yeah, what can go wrong, right? But here's another, guys. There is another interesting article. I'm going to share my screen with you again. Once we on the subject of the nuclear weapons and nuclear, I don't know, doomsday Here's an interesting article. Tell me what you think about this, guys. Interesting article by RT. It says NASA teams up with Pentagon for atomic spaceships. DARPA will work with U.S. Space Agency to develop a nuclear-powered Mars vessel. The U.S. Space Agency announced on Tuesday that it was reviving the 1960s partnership with the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency called DARPA, aiming to develop a nuclear-powered spaceship for travel to the moon and Mars. NASA will work with our long-term partner DARPA to develop and demonstrate advanced nuclear thermal propulsion technology as soon as 2017, said Bill Nelson. And he said, aiding the two agencies will ignite the future together. While NASA and DARPA hope to have in-space demonstration of the spaceship and the engine as early as 2027. Well, in the end of this article, it says that nuclear thermal engine would use a fission reactor to heat a liquid propellant, in the process 3 or more times more efficient than conventional chemical propulsion, according to NASA. While it has been decades since NASA last tried to develop such an engine, recent aerospace materials and engineering advancements are enabling the new era for space nuclear technology. Project Orion was abandoned before because apparently they were very concerned that to get military funding, the project also attempted to develop a space battleship, an orbital platform for the nuclear missile for the Pentagon. And it says in 1963, partial test ban treaty prohibited the testing of atomic weapons in space, while the 1967 Outer Space Treaty banned the deployment of any weapons of mass destruction in Earth's orbit and beyond. What do you guys think about that? Yeah, sounds like there is going to be more things in space and more things are going to be developed by 2027. We'll see what happens, right? I don't know. You tell me, what do you guys think? Tom Casey says, I believe Scott said that it's not that he was as promoting first strikes. Tom, I cannot compose your sentence. Sorry about that. But yeah, United States does have a right to strike first if it comes to nuclear strikes. Mehdi says, Russia has far better homeland defense radar and targeting system than the United States. US does not have as much first strike capacity or capability as it thinks it does. Russia has far better missile tech. Well, possibly. We know Russia has hypersonic missiles. Oh yeah, the Russian guy that I played, he was talking about Poseidon, AI autonomous nuclear torpedo. Yeah, he was talking about that torpedo that Russia has on this submarine called Poseidon that can cause the 200, meter waves and can wipe out the coastal cities. Yes, Mehdi says it's in service on the Russian Belgorod nuclear submarine. Yeah, patriotic Chris responds to William, says, William Hoekstra, unfortunately, a false flag tactical nuclear weapon going off would cause so much panic that before anybody would realize it, that an all-out nuclear attack would happen. NATO these days are controlled by globalists, aka New World Order. Yeah, it's unpredictable world, put it this way. There could be a mistake, there could be human error, somebody may have miscalculated something. We are in a dangerous territory right now with this war in Ukraine regarding potential nuclear escalation with Russia. Stephanie says 300 megatons. You're probably talking about Poseidon, right? We have Tom Casey. How come we never talk about what will happen to Russia if this escalates? Well, let's talk about what happens to Russia if this escalates, Tom. Here is a very good question. I always say that Biden cannot wait to shake Putin's dead hand. Yeah, if this escalates and God forbid somebody strikes Russia, right? And even if Russia, let's say the commanding, what is it? Commanders are all dead. Somebody, some totally misinformed or belligerent or silly person or totally irresponsible person pushes a button, and let's say Russia gets stricken by nuclear weapons of sorts, and the entire chain of command is wiped in Russia. Nobody to push the button. Guess what? Russia is not dead. Russia may be dead, but Russia is not dead as far as delivering the final blow. It's called a dead hand. Russia has a perimeter thing that it actually inherited from Soviet times, that even if everybody in Russia is dead, including commanding officers who were to push the button in response to nuclear attack, then the dead hand takes over, and automatically these things get launched and they fly around. And I think Scott described it that they will be like beeping codes, and the launches, all the coordinates, of course, there will be all the countries that we love and know, including ourselves, that are probably pre-programmed into the Russian nuclear codes. And so even if Russia is quote unquote dead, we will be all dead, because Russian dead hand will take over and basically destroy all the remainder of the world that it has pre-typed in his coordinates in its dead hand nuclear strike. That's what happens to Russia, but we hope this doesn't happen, right? Every NATO escalation was met with more Russian answers. When is NATO going to understand that they can't win this? It's a good point. That's the biggest problem, William. All the military analysts, basically the analysts like Colonel Douglas McGregor, he used to serve on the Trump administration as the senior advisor to the acting Secretary of Defense, Colonel Douglas McGregor. He spoke out and he said, Russia won. We, the West, cannot do anything to change that. All we can do is kill more Ukrainians by providing more weapons, he said. And that's what, unfortunately, the passive Biden administration have chosen, to kill more Ukrainians by escalating, providing more weapons to drag this conflict, because nobody wants to negotiate with Russia. Zelensky signed the decree, and he said that it's forbidden for him, he himself forbid himself to negotiate with Putin. He said, I will negotiate, but only with a different president of Russia. So Zelensky actually made a decree that the negotiations with Putin cannot be for Ukraine. So nobody wants to negotiate with Russia. Russia is standing there saying, hey, let's negotiate. Let's wrap this up. West doesn't want to. They're making lots of money. They're supplying all the weapons. They're getting rid of old stock. So now Poland's going to get rid of it, all stocks of Leopard tanks. Guess what? We're going to bring Poland our Abramses probably. So yeah, a lot of people make a lot of money. The only people who got a raw deal is Ukrainian people who are getting to die. And nobody in the West seems to care. And they even are ready to put our lives in danger of the nuclear exchange with Russia as soon as this war keeps getting fueled, and provide heavier weapons to Ukraine. Yeah, this is pretty much insane. So we have some more comments. William says, yes, sir, that's what is scary, completely out of touch with reality. Yeah, probably talking about Biden. Let me see. Is a devilish birthday today? What? Devil's birthday today? Oh yeah, that's Zelensky's birthday. We already congratulated, quote unquote, in him. And I played the video earlier in this broadcast that Ukrainian lady said that she's sending him $30 as 30 pieces of silver for which he sold Ukrainian people. That was pretty good. We have American Christian regular citizens want peace. We love all people. USA is still a melting pot of the world. We have Stephanie, now they're exposed. Stephanie says denazification means taking care of those Satanists. Well, talk about denazification. If you guys have not watched this video, I'm going to play for you right now. This is very scary video. I think it was done by British BBC, I'm thinking. Double check, it's on YouTube. You can find it. Or NBC, looks like they basically went down there to Ukraine and they documented how there are children camps in Ukraine. And the children, of course, are trained in military type environment. But the problem is they are very much also ideologically conditioned in these camps. And they're conditioned to kill Russians. And Russians are called Muscovites, people who live in Moscow or who originate from Moscow. In their view, the word Muscovite is basically Russian. It equates to that, and they have to be killed. So let me play you this little bit of this video. And in the beginning, the child says, "What is our slogan?" And then he answers, "What is the slogan?" Read the subtitles if you want to, because the child obviously speaks Ukrainian.
Рій, наше гасло. України, діти, ми.
Burn our fire. We're children of Ukraine, the little boy says in one of these militarized, quote unquote, nationalist camps in Ukraine. Let Moscow lay in ruins. We don't give a damn. We don't care. We will conquer the whole world. Death to the Muscovites. Muscovites is Russians, basically, people reference to Moscow being Russia's capital.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Hi Spike, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
So I'm looking through the documentary you shot for us in Ukraine. Basically, I just wanted to ask if you could take me through a few things. We're looking at these kids at camp, right? Like singing around a campfire?
This is a summer camp for children run by a military battalion on the outskirts of Kiev. Summer camps in Ukraine are common, but this one is much more extreme. The kids spend a week on the camp. They learn patriotic songs, they receive firearms combat training, and they participate in combat reconstructions. The children that you're seeing in this edit, half of them have a direct relationship to a battalion called Azov.
So who is Azov?
Azov are a controversial Ukrainian battalion. After Crimea's annexation, the official Ukrainian military didn't have enough soldiers to fight, so civilians formed many of their own volunteer battalions, one of which was Azov. Soon after, in November 2014, Azov were brought into the official National Guard. So now they're a legitimate battalion.
В дитинстві взагалі не маю уявлення, що таке війна, мабуть, і не задумуєшся. Це зараз.
Did you guys see that? Again, this is a nice little special. You could find it on the YouTube. I just wanted you to hear that since Stephanie mentioned denazification. Yeah, here's the children of Ukraine, and they basically are shouting, "Death to Muscovites, death to Russians." And this is modern day Ukraine, a militarized nationalist camp sponsored by Azov Battalion, the notorious for their neo-Nazi ideology, that we actually have, as the United States Congress a few years ago, forbade the funds go to the Azov Battalion because of the association with the neo-Nazi ideology in Ukraine. But now that Azov Battalion is official part of Ukrainian military. So they obviously do receive the money, and they also are invited and come to United States, and we parade them. Our congressmen meet with them. We give them honorary receptions here in United States. So, yeah, you could see what's going on in Ukraine and how children from a little age are being conditioned to basically have very strong, I don't want to use a four-letter word, but yes, that begins with H against Russian people. That's very sad. Let's see, what do we have for comments here? we have some comments. Tom says we are serfs now. Looks like I like this guy. He's telling you the real deal. Sounds like you're talking about that American-Russian guy who was telling us about the doomsday. We have a comment from Alex. He says our own government is trying to kill us with the vaccine. Oh boy, yeah, vaccine. Let's mention that thing. Armin Bro, no peace talks, no peace. Yeah, they don't want to talk peace. They absolutely don't. Tom Casey says Nancy Pelosi is not insane. Nobody said she was insane. I didn't. She's, I think, pretty smart to get where she's at and sit there for that many years and keep getting reelected each year, right? That's kind of cute to believe in our elections that are selections nowadays. William says, true, just only 30 years ago, Gorbachev allowed German reunification. For Putin to show German tanks on the battlefield will just make Russians support Putin more. You're right, William, you're right. I watch, like I said, I'm fluent in Ukrainian and Russian, so I'll watch media on both sides, personalities, who people listen to, so I can get the full picture of the situation. And of course, if you hear Russian media, people actually in Russia saying that the West thought that by creating this confrontation between Russia and Ukraine, that like Biden dreams of regime change in Russia. John Bolton, he came out and said the Putin must go. All our top leaders, Americans, political dinosaurs, they want to change regime in Russia. And that's what this whole thing between Russia and Ukraine is all about. So when Biden came out, I think in 2022, last year, in about March, and said, this man cannot remain in power, you know, meaning Mr. Putin, Russian president. And of course, they think the longer they drag this war, the more people will get unhappy within Russia and start actually revolting against Putin so they can take Putin down. And that's basically what Biden wants. And John Bolton, of course, he came out and wrote an article for the 1945 magazine, 1945 magazine, saying that Putin cannot remain in power, he has to go. So, but what happened, it backfired. It appears that Russia is more united as ever before. Of course, there were some celebrities who sort of took the neutral stand on this. Some actually ran away to other countries, some hiding in Israel, some ran away to Latvia, so they don't have to take a side or speak out whether they support Russia's actions, whether they don't. But there was a small percentage of those people who are known celebrities who sort of decided to show their quote-unquote unpatriotic side to the Russian people. But majority of Russian people are stating that they are united and as ever, you know. And I think Putin's approval rating when this military operation started was, I think, upwards of between 70 to 82%. It's insane, yeah. And Biden's at the same time was about 30% approval rate. So yeah, they want to remove Putin. Biden really has to dream about that. But hey, you never know. They removed Gaddafi at one point. They have their methods. We have Jerry Green saying, this is a tinderbox, good Lord. Yeah, it's it is. Let me see. Putin has no plans of using nuclear weapons. He does not need to, because Ukraine is not worth the problem, says Lonnie McCollum. It's the USA who is running the war in Ukraine. They are the ones that are at war with Russia. It's all baloney what the mainstream media is saying. The news are all lies, and the Biden regime, who is behind all this madness. Do you really think that Ukraine would go to war with Russia? Of course not, Lonnie, you're right. It's all Biden's behind all of that in EU. And of course, they've been preparing to throw Ukraine to try to break Russia down. That's what the whole point is, to weaken Russia. They're hoping that the longer the war goes, that the more Russia will bleed and the more Russia will weaken. And they hope that Russian people will get tired of it and get angry with Putin and bring him down, or there will be some kind of coup or something along these lines. And so far, it doesn't look like it. That's why it's getting more scary, because like Scott Ritter and Colonel McGregor and Senator Black are saying that Russia is winning basically on the battlefield. I mean, how can Ukraine, a country of 40 million people and no nuclear weapons, can win against Russia, a country of 140 million and nuclear weapons and just any other weapons you can imagine? Just because NATO gives Ukraine some tanks? Come on, wake up, people. Yeah, wake up. We've been sold a bag of goods here by Biden. Yeah, Mehdi says dead hand system. Yeah, that's what we're talking about, Russian nuclear dead hand system. And the Mehdi says about Poseidon wave, that submarine that Russia has invented that can create the tsunami waves to wipe out our coastal cities. And I think they said Great Britain can be wiped out within what, hours? A 500 feet wave created will not only wipe out New York, it will travel miles inland from there. Yeah. Yeah, Russia has a lot of ways to destroy the world if world pushes Russia into the corner to do that. And so far, Russia said they do not want to do that, and they're resisting. Ralph Simpson, the dead hand, I hope their internet connections are better than in the West. Sounds like a bit of a joke there, or a little humor. Try to break our serious mood here. William says, maybe patriotic, Chris, but New World Order are not controlling nuclear bombs. Those bombs need to be actioned by 3 different persons who hopefully come to their senses when ordered to press the button. Also, this tactical bomb would be in Ukraine. Basically, it would be up to Russia to answer. Okay, that's interesting. Mehdi has a comment. System will automatically launch nuclear weapons in a system and target the designated predetermined coordinates to launch once contact is lost. Yeah, we're talking about Russian dead hand. Means if Russian commanders are dead via nuclear strike from some other country, they have the automatic system called dead hand that takes over and kills everybody that's been pre-programmed into the system, even if the Russian commanding basically all destroyed, all of the commanders are dead. We have Ansu. I'm very late tonight watching you from Germany. Welcome, Ansu. Great to see you. Mehdi says, I was a tank commander. I can tell you why NATO tanks will not work if you want me to. I've heard that, Mehdi, that something about their, I don't know, what is it? The way that they're armored, they're not designed for that, or they're too heavy. I mean, yeah, sounds like they're, and I think, what is it? Lloyd Austin said that they're high maintenance and they're like the steel, maybe there. It's not, I don't know. Maybe they're too prone to some type of particular weapons. Yeah, there was something that America was saying, the Biden administration was saying when they didn't want to supply Abrams, they say, no, Abrams tanks just not designed for Ukrainian type combat. They're just not designed for that. Well, ended up giving 31 of them to Zelensky. Not designed, but still coming to Zelensky. Birthday present for him from Biden. We have Katie's comment, creating their own little brown shorts. Yeah, talking about that video that I just shown, that Ukrainian children are in militarized nationalist camps, basically screaming death to enemies, death to all the Russians. And I guess that's how they're conditioned from littles. And that's very scary to have this type of brainwashing going in the childhood in Ukrainian children, that they're conditioned to basically hate and kill Russians. That's insane. There are Russian people living in Ukraine. There's over 100 ethnic groups in Ukraine. How could Ukrainian nationalism be allowed to declare that the only ethnic group that is allowed any kind of rights or speak their own language would be Ukrainian? I mean, there's over 100 people there. a lot of them ethnic Russians or Russian speakers. In fact, that brings me to this video. Let me see if I posted that video or not. Oh, maybe I didn't bring it, but there was a cool video I was going to share with you where the guy actually from the Ukrainian, from the front line, he made a video saying that the lady of Ukrainian parliament was screaming that everybody who speaks Russian basically have to be thrown out of the country. And Ukrainian soldiers said that if you want to throw Russian people out of our country, then you will be the only one left in the country. And then you're really going to be taken over by the enemies. Basically, he said, we don't have good national ethnic groups or bad ones. It's just good people or bad people. And he said that he has Russian-speaking guys fighting side by side with him in Ukraine in the battlefield, and he's appalled at the rhetoric of Ukrainian former parliament member or current parliament member. Her last name is Farion. I think Farion is a very famous. She's a famous personality in Ukraine as far as parliament. And she basically declared in one of the TV shows that all Russians need to pack their bags and get out of Ukraine, or she can't stand them. They're like Putinoids, she called them, like non-human beings, Putinoids. I mean, what the heck that's supposed to mean? And she despises them. They're disgusting. Their language is disgusting. They have no right to speak their language on Ukrainian soil. And the guy in Ukrainian army made a video, played her video, and then recorded himself speaking like, hey, lady, wake up. I have the guys with me fighting in Ukraine, sitting in the trenches, and they're dying, and they're Russian speaking. You tell me that my comrades are bad guys who we're together fighting Russians, he says. And he says, you don't understand, lady, that if you speak like this, you're going to be the only one left in this country because you will be overtaken by enemies. So it was pretty interesting video. Yeah, you're right. It's very sad state of affairs. Tom says Russia Federation is only 140 million. Really? Yeah, I think now it's along that figure. William says Biden has been talking about Ukraine at least from 1997. Hunter was living in Ukraine. Why nobody is talking about this? Well, hello, William. I've been talking about it for all these years. Where have you been all my life? Yeah, I've been talking about it. Obviously, a lot of people do not know about Biden dealings in Ukraine. And of course I do, because I speak Ukrainian. I can hear and see what's going on in Ukraine. Abrams tanks are gas guzzlers. They use the same amount of fuel, whether they're sitting or moving. Okay. Jerry says so much hatred that people are getting brainwashed with. Yeah, very true. Here's another video, guys, and that's a sad video. This is the photographer. His name is Ron Haviv. He's a very famous photographer. You can Google him up. He traveled to Ukraine, and he's bringing you these tragic photographs of what he's seen in a war zone. A lot of people in Ukraine now are tied to the lampposts and poles in what we call medieval style lynches. Of course, Ron says, of course, he was there allowed to come by Ukrainian side, so he has to be careful what he says. But I will tell you what they actually do. If somebody maybe speaks Russian, maybe the guy is considered that he have stole something. I've seen the video when the younger man, like maybe under his 20s, was bound to the lamppost. And the people who bound him to the post, they said, oh, you sold us bad bike. We don't like the bike you sold us. So here you get to be bound to this lamppost and humiliated. So they basically practice now this medieval style lynches. When even armed forces of Ukraine will grab somebody, whether they're considered to be a looter or they just considered to look at somebody a wrong way, say something that somebody doesn't like, people can get accused. There is no due process. and they tie them to the pole. They take their underwear down, humiliate them, TikTok videos take of them and post them on TikTok all over the place. There is even an article by Daily Beast called "They Tie Them to the Post, to the Lamppost." If the American Ukrainian army comes into the area which used to be under Russian control, they will identify Russian collaborators, tie them to the post for public humiliation, and of course they kill them as well. We know that there's articles written about that. So, but I thought a lot of people say, oh, but they don't do it. No, they do it. And here is the proof. He's Ron Haviv. He is a famous photographer who tells you what he observed in there. And of course, I have more horrific videos. He just shows you the photographs of basically human rights abuses, violations of Ukraine, how they're doing this and how they grab the folks and basically humiliate them with no due process and beat them up while they're motionless, tied to the pole. Then the strangers beat them, they humiliate them. It's insane. Yeah, it's horrible. But so if you really want to know, do they or do they not tie people to the lamppost? Here's a photographer who's seen it and he documented it.
Arrested. So this is a looter, but a Ukrainian looter who's been arrested by Ukrainian forces, and they tie them up to a pole. They often take their pants off, their underwear off to humiliate them. They stick a potato in their mouth to show that they're stealing. And the soldiers that tied him up said that the police would eventually come to arrest them and put them on trial. He's allegedly a perpetrator, allegedly a looter. I have no idea if that's correct or not, but he's also a victim of the whole situation that's going on.
Yeah, did you guys see that? And here's the article that basically written by Daily Beast, and that talks about basically the same practice here. Only this is what's done to Russian collaborators. It says, let me click over here. It says photo, alleged Russian collaborators tied to the lampposts in Ukraine. So you see that, right? Yeah, this is a very scary and very sad situation. It's there is no justice. There is no human due process that people are allowed anymore in Ukraine. And there's a lot of people who are pretty much shot in the cleansing operations by Ukrainian troops. There is bodies all over. If you watch that, it's one very, very tragic situation. And here is Joe Biden, and listen how he quickly corrects himself, but I think he said it right the first time. Listen to this.
All to help counter Ukraine's brutal aggression that's happening because of Russia.
Did you hear that? Nice save, Mr. Biden. Let's hear you again. Ukraine's brutal aggression, but then he quickly corrected himself. Oh, that's all because of Russia. Can't make this up. Yeah, did you guys watch when Zelensky came to get $37 billion from our Congress about a month ago? The translator who was translating what he had to say, he said, I'm accepting it for our country. And she translated it, I'm accepting it for our crime. And then she quickly corrected, oh, for our country. Yeah, there's a lot of these slip-ups which seem like Freudian Freudian slips here. Listen.
All to help counter Ukraine's brutal aggression that's happening because of Russia.
Yeah, right. Ukraine's brutal aggression. Yeah, Ukraine has been terrorizing its own citizens since 2014, bombing the eastern Ukraine Donbass region. But Biden will not tell you that about this war. It's all Russia. The war only started in 2022 when Russia's troops came into Ukraine. Russia is aggressor. What about Ukraine bombing its own citizens since 2014 to this day? Biden, what about that? You forgot about this? You would like me to remind you? Yeah, you can't make this up, guys. They lying to us, and they could care less, because American people are asleep. That's why I'm doing this live, so you guys all wake up. Hey, anybody listening on the Facebook, subscribe to my YouTube channel, guys. Elena USA Live, type it on YouTube and subscribe, or click that QR code that you see on your screen. William says, sorry, Elena, the Bidens, from my point of view, were never relevant until they provoked this war. William, they were pretty relevant while Biden was a senator. They were pretty relevant when Biden was vice president. I will show you another video when Biden single-handedly removed the Ukraine's top chief prosecutor of entire country by threatening to withhold loan guarantees from United States that were going to Ukraine. Yeah, behind the scenes that evades the eye of our mainstream media, Biden's was very relevant, and that's a problem. American people think he's just relevant when he started this confrontation with Russia in 2022. No, he has been doing it for the years. They've been robbing and pillaging Ukraine, removing Ukraine's prosecutors. They've been changing Ukraine's government. Biden was involved in 2014 when he was vice president, together with Obama, Newland, even McCain participated, Lindsey Graham, when they removed democratically elected president in Ukraine in 2014. And years before that, Ukraine had what they call Orange Revolution, when the president, quote unquote, the guy who was winning, was what they considered pro-Russian. So they put another guy against him, and against Ukraine's constitution, had a third tour, a run-up to the presidency. And the guy who finally, quote unquote, won in the basically unconstitutional third round of voting was a guy whose wife was working for various administrations in the United States State Department. Yes. So yeah, they all been relevant. It's just lots of people don't realize how relevant they have been. Stephanie says, your work is very good and important. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Stephanie. Biden is a Gaffy machine. Yeah, Biden says lots of things. Like he said that ruble was what, 200 rubles for $1. He said it in Poland at the time. Ruble was, I believe, 80 rubles for $1. But hey, who cares, right? He can say it, the United States president. And then he said that one of his sons died in what, Afghanistan or Iraq, one of the two. His son, the first son who died from cancer. The second, I believe, Hunter, is still alive. What son, Mr. Biden? So he can claim when he speaks to United States veterans that, yes, I understand what you're going through. My son died in, I don't know, fill the blank, Iraq or Afghanistan. I don't remember. I don't need to remember his lies. But yeah, he basically claimed, and then he claimed something about his uncle. And he claimed, I mean, literally our United States president, oh my gosh, is, yeah, I can't even put the words in the same sentence, the lies and United States president. But when it concerns Biden and his administration, you can't make this up. These words are in the same sentence. Just read any of his speeches since he says. It's insane. There is very little truth in there. For most part, it's exaggerations and lies and things to mislead American people in supporting the bloodiest war in Europe since when? In the war in Ukraine right now. Yeah, and now they're lying to us to support it. Yeah. Tom says, yeah. Oh, William says, I'm not American, Elena, I'm Dutch. This was never highlighted where I live, so people from outside of USA do not know about this. Well, you see, William, you're right about that. You are right. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. Our Biden seems to be not relevant, but gosh, he is very relevant. And his connection and his involvement in Ukraine is so deep. But our media in the United States does not cover it. And sounds like your media doesn't cover it either. So Yeah, it's, you know, the good place to start if you want to learn about Biden's involvement and how he was basically involved in that coup that took elected president, democratically elected president of Ukraine in 2014. Google a movie called Ukraine on Fire. That's made by Oliver Stone, the award-winning journalist and filmmaker of United States. That movie is available for free on Rumble, or you can scroll my Facebook page and find that movie. Just keep scrolling my page. Probably will take you a couple minutes until you find that movie. It's called Ukraine on Fire. And then there is another good movie. You can find that on YouTube called Ukrainian Lives Matter. That was made by Ukrainian investigative journalists who talk about Biden and Hunter Biden dealings in Ukraine. Ukrainian journalists made it, and the former Ukrainian parliament member Nadia Savchenko presents that movie. Yeah, two great movies. And there is another great movie by Oliver Stone called Revealing Ukraine. Again, Rumble may have it because I know YouTube doesn't like to show a lot of truth, so they may not have these movies available. But YouTube has Ukrainian Lives Matter, made by Ukrainian journalists about Biden and Hunter Biden dealings in Ukraine. We have Katie saying he said his son Bo died in Iraq war, but died of cancer. Exactly. So he said it was Iraq. Yeah, I remember. Like, yeah, you can't listen to Biden. There is not a word of truth usually comes out. Here goes Terminal Junior saying it's not lying the problem. It's that sometimes he speak while he is drunk. I don't know. I think it's very sad that we cannot trust what our own president is saying of United States, because at some point you have to be speaking the truth when you're a United States president, because your words have an impact. And, you know, our entire country looks up to our president. But if we cannot trust the words and actions of our president, I mean, who can we trust? Yeah, that's very tragic. Okay, guys, I'm going to say I should let you probably all go. I kept you here too long. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Elena USA Live. Just go to YouTube, Google Elena USA Live, or click the QR code. Just point your phone to it, and it will take you right there. Subscribe and make sure to click the bell so you could get all notifications when I go live next time. I thank everyone from YouTube who is watching, everyone from the Facebook who is watching. You guys are so wonderful. All your comments were like, wow, I love them. Everybody is just so excellent, so well informed. And I hope that we learn something together, right? We learn something. I personally learned a lot when, thank you, Tom. Thank you. God bless, says Tom. Good night, says Katie. And I think the more we learn, the less ignorant we are, the better citizens we are of whatever country that you guys are watching from. I am a United States citizen. I love my country. I don't like my people to die as sheep led to the slaughter. I'd like Americans to be well-informed and to understand that they are being robbed. And our taxpayer dollars that are being sent to Ukraine could have saved lives of our American citizens who are now living in California and other states in the streets. Our veterans are homeless in America, and we're sending billions to Ukraine. Who do we take care of? I don't understand. Our politicians sold us out. We have to take care of our own people. Our own veterans are homeless and they're living on the streets, and we're sending billions to Ukraine. This is insanity. So I hope that none of the people on my stream are ignorant, and some maybe don't know a few things. Don't be shy, ask questions, and hopefully we will do it again. I know, it's cute. Stephanie says, funny, we have to listen to a Russian to know what's happening. I know you are American. Yeah, I am American citizen, and I grew up in Ukraine, and I am fluent in Ukrainian. I also lived in Russia. So I understand very well what's happening and what has been happening in Ukraine for years. So if I can shed some light for you guys, and of course, There is a lot of other sources, and you can do your own research and make your own mind up. But wake up, Americans. That's my message to everyone. And wake up the people of the world, because looks like corrupt politicians are not particularly exclusive to America. They seem to be everywhere. Yeah, so they are everywhere. Oh, guys, I love you all, and I hope that I will see you on my next live. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Elena USA Live, and everybody who watched on the Facebook or on the YouTube, big hugs. You are my favorites, and I will see you down there next time. Just so you guys know, it has been a pleasure. Thank you for all your comments. Thank you for your time and for hanging out with me tonight. Till the next time. Be safe. Take care, everyone. Love you all.